Disney has been making a lot of really great announcements. Like I feel like Bob Iger really found a way to redirect how he wanted to handle the company once Chapek left. And this actually brings us to our next topic here, which is Mandalorian and Grogu set for 2026 release. First things first, a Mandalorian movie, I thought sounds like a great idea. Like
Yep.
that's incredible,
Well,
really good
we
thinking.
talked about that. Yeah.
And I also think that Mando's gonna die in this movie, and I'll tell you once I read this quote really quick.
Hmm.
This comes to us from Collider. Disney chief Bob Iger, during an earnings call this afternoon, disclosed to shareholders that a new slate of Star Wars films, a number of which have already been announced, would be coming, with The Mandalorian and Grogu leading the way, as a release date has been set for 2026. The Mandalorian and Grogu will be the first Star Wars film to launch ahead of the previously confirmed films. The film will see Pedro Pascal reprise his role as Din Djarin, the titular Mandalorian, alongside Grogu, his foundling and adopted child, whom he met in the pilot episode of the series. There's also still a fourth season of the series to come, which is primed to set up the plot for the film. Okay, so you got season 4. Let me back up a little bit more.
Okay.
When season 3 came out, the show was not called The Mandalorian. The show was actually supposed to be called Mandalorians.
Well,
And
it was called The Mandalorian, but yeah, it should have been called.
yes, it should have been called that, or it should have been called Mandalore at this point,
Mm.
because the story was almost nothing about Mando himself. You know,
Yeah.
it was more about the people in his community. So to me, I'm getting the sense that the Mandalorian story of Din Djarin is starting to come to a close. So now they're saying here season 4 is coming in, and they're going to set up the next movie. We already have the Ahsoka series having set up that, you know, Thrawn is now in your galaxy. So now the fourth season's going to be another bit of Thrawn stuff, and then you get into the movie, and then what do you do to make this movie of killing Thrawn the most epic thing you can possibly do? A hero sacrifice. So you kill Mando,
Mm.
and then you continue the story through Grogu as he gets older. So in my mind, it makes sense, but also because of another thing, which we're about to talk about probably after this topic, which is Pedro Pascal is going to be Reed Richards in the MCU for Marvel. So
I was
Mr.
going to bring up that
Fantastic.
point. Yep.
So there's so much stuff this guy's doing. He's in the middle of working on the fantastic stuff, but at the same time, he has to work on Mandalorian. He has to work on The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, his schedule is crazy. So I don't think he would have accepted this role of Reed Richards unless he knew that he's gonna probably not be part of some other universes pretty soon. Man, The Last of Us, spoiler alert, if you haven't played Part 2, things don't go too well for Reed Richards, for Joel from The Last of Us. Heck, that's like such. I feel like this is news everybody already knows about that series or about the game in general, because that
Yeah.
was the big headline when the game came out. So we all know what's coming. So we know that that's going to be out of the way for him once he's done filming that. Then he can start working on Reed Richards, and then if he needs more time to back it up, he's probably going to pass away as Din Djarin as well and make it the most epic Iron Man moment that you could possibly
Uh,
have. Because think about it. Also, this whole Star Wars thing, this Mandalorian and Grogu movie, it's setting us up for a cinematic universe like the way Star Wars wanted to do this as if they were Marvel. They have been trying to put all these different shows together to make one big movie. So the Mandalorian and
yeah.
Grogu movie might be their endgame that brings in everybody together. You know? That's just me, though. Raul, what do you think about all this, my dude?
Okay. So they did say the season 4 will come out first, and then the Mandalorian Grogu movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is that? Am I to understand that correctly? Okay.
Yes.
So it's not the reverse, which I was worried about, because like, why do it? Why do a movie and then continue it go back to doing a show to continue it anyway? Okay, so that's good. So they do season 4 and then hopefully build that into the movie. Yeah. Look, I think, man, and I'm reeling over your theory about him dying.
Oh,
Din
man.
Djarin. But
It just makes sense to me. That's all. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with we hopefully, yeah, it's good. We can get back and focused on Din and Grogu again. Yeah, are they still doing the? Did they say, are they still doing the team up movie?
Supposedly, that's
I
what's
don't know.
supposed to happen. I mean, the whole point of all these different Star Wars TV series was that they were going to try to, put it all together in one big movie so that they can kill Thrawn or something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping, but the only thing is that I know they're probably not going to succeed entirely because I'm assuming Thrawn's plan is to bring back the Emperor, which somehow Palpatine returns is now going to be more relevant than we thought.
The worst line in Star Wars.
Yeah,
Somehow Palpatine returned. What do you mean?
I
Cop
still
out.
I still think Dave Filoni has saved Star Wars countless times because all his projects have to make up for what happened in movies.
Mm.
So that when you watch his stuff, then you can watch the movies and actually really appreciate them because now everything that happens in these movies makes sense.
Or
So
at least tolerate them.
I feel like
All right,
all of
fine.
the Dave Filoni verse currently I think is trying to make up for somehow Palpatine returned. Like that is the whole purpose I feel for all these shows, which upsets me because I just want to have good stories that are just going to help me make the next movie awesome in general just cuz, I don't want it to be the reason why this movie has to be good. It needs to just be able to stand on its own two legs and make its own thing happen, which is why I'm excited about Acolyte because that's going to be a High Republic era, which is going to be really cool, and there's going to be Jedi's and Sith killing each other. Cool.
And I'm excited about that. If that James Mangold Origin of the Force movie is still happening.
Oh yeah,
I
that
hope
too.
so. But I'm excited about that too because that sounds so different. So this is what I find is funny is that they say this is the next movie coming out. So forget about the Ray movie. And I think it's
It's
still
still there. It's still there. They're just
it's
not
still
working
there,
on it
but
first.
it's so funny. It clearly you can tell they've really focused in on Mandalorian and Grogu because for a while they were saying, no, the Ray movie, that's the next thing that's coming out. That's the next thing. And then they got this idea for Mandalorian and Grogu or something, and they're like, no, you know what? Don't worry about that. This is the next thing that's coming out, Mandalorian and Grogu. So we're just gonna keep pushing the Ray movie back. Yeah, I just thought that was funny.
Scheduling wise, I think that makes sense to me though, because I would much rather Bob Iger decide that, hey, we have to hone in on the whole Mando universe right now, finish up that story, and then we can start telling the future storylines with like Rey and then the past storylines like the Force Begins kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because we are because Star Wars wanted to set up their own cinematic universe with all the TV shows, you can't do what Marvel's doing right now with their phase 4, which was they were putting out all these movies but absolutely none of them connected. So we don't know why we're watching all these if they don't all connect to each other because that's how we've been raised to believe that these projects are supposed to be. So I think, finish that multiversal or not multiversal, finish that connected universe storyline thing and then move on to the other things because you don't want to confuse your audiences and go, oh no, that story has nothing to do with blah, blah, blah. I would argue they're already doing that with Andor because Andor has nothing to do with the Mandoverse. Anyways, those are my 2 cents on that. Any other thoughts on this kind of thing?
No, I'm just all right. Cool. We got a set date now, and I'm just glad it's coming out after season 4 of Mando, so that it's got something to. The show has something to build to.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well then, yeah, I hope the Star Wars universe ends up working out the way it does. Again, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, so I'm really excited for this universe to explode and do cool things and stuff like that. I'm all for a Mando movie. I do think Mando's gonna die in his movie. Quote me on that. If the movie comes out and he doesn't die, then that's on you, the listener, for watching this show. I'm kidding. No, keep watching this show.